My name is Alexis Rodriguez from the LGBTQ History Museum of Central Florida, and I'm here interviewing Ric Weber on October 15, 2021, recorded at his house in Orlando as part of the museum's project in capturing the oral history of Florida's LGBTQ community. With us is Jose Arajo, assisting and recording this interview. Ric Weber has been part of Orlando's LGBTQ community for several decades, being an entertainer and participating at a contest from the 1970s up to the 1990s, such as Mr. Dixie Land, Mr. Parliament House, Mr. Gay Orlando, Mr. Goya, Mr. RJ's, Mr. Tampa, Mr. Southern Nights, to name a few. Ric has become a recognizable face to Orlando's gay history, to which brings us here today. Ric, could you start us off by telling me a little bit about yourself, such as your childhood and your life?
My childhood, my life. I had a good childhood. I had good parents. My mom was, of course, my support, and grew up in Illinois, corn country. So, but as in gay community, there wasn't. I didn't even know what gay was when I was younger. And then even as I got older, like high school and into college, is when I found out more about gay. And still I had not come out until my sophomore year in college. And I didn't really come out, because in college they had a gay group that you could go out and talk. And it would be gay straight talks. They would invite straight people to come in and talk, you know, and it was a lure actually to just bring men in so they could see who's thinking about being gay. It was a mess. And word got out on that, and so I didn't experience that, and I'm glad I didn't, because I think it would have been a bad experience. But I dated girls for my first 2 years, but all I ever did was kiss them. There was no sexual involvement. I didn't know why. I just kept it very PG. I dated one girl in high school that we were best friends, and her father was the principal of a junior high school, and he just thought I was the best. Because when we went out on a date, I brought her back at the promptly at 10 o'clock or whatever the time was, and she would say, "Oh no, he was a perfect gentleman," and all this and that. And so he and his wife both thought I was wonderful. And years later, they were wondering what happened to me, because they thought we were going to get married and all that. It never happened, of course. But as I got older, this was, if I ever had a book or a movie done up, this would be the opening picture. This was me when I was like 10 years old. And my mom never said anything about it. My dad never said anything about it. I never dressed in my mom's clothing or anything, but I would dress up. You know, we would have Cowboy and Indian Day where I was in this little town, country town. And I dressed up as an Indian and put a washcloth. This is my first costume. Washcloth in the front, washcloth in the back. I had a pair of khaki shorts on, though. It wasn't au naturel. And I did that as my first costume. And after that, it went gangbusters. But in college, I was very lucky to join a dance troupe. It's called American Heritage Dancers. And we did folk dances from the United States. We also did folklore also. We did Indian dances. And because I have a gymnastics background, that I did what's called an Indian hoop dance, which was a synchronized hoop dance with another guy. And we did that in our concert. And then it turns out my director had it set up for us to go over to Europe for 7 weeks, and we had to put out a certain amount of money or my mom did. And there's only 2 times I've ever asked my mom for any help like that. And one was to go to Europe, which I knew, and my brother knew that it was going to be an experience I'd never forget, which it was. And I performed the Indian hoop dance over in France, and I forget what other countries. Then I lost my train of thought. The American Heritage Dancers. We did concerts in that. I also joined a gymnastics troupe in college. It was it was called Gamma Phi, which it was like a fraternity in a way, but it had men. Yeah, it had men and women in it. And we did a concert also at the end of the year. And I learned how to do single trapeze and work on some of my tumbling. People asked if I was a gymnast, and I was not. I wanted to, in my head I was a gymnast. But I never got enough training. I took as many classes as I could in college, and I took all the swimming classes in college. I got certified as a lifeguard, and to teach swimming, my WSI, got that also. And also had canoe lessons. Learned how to canoe, which years later I used at Disney. We were on a little picnic thing, and they had a contest for canoeing and seeing who could canoe the best around this buoy out in the middle of the lake and come back. And I got a real good partner, and we won it, which was fun. And but that's pretty much. Then I came to Florida, lived in Daytona Beach for a year, and that's when I won my first contest at Mr. Dixie Land. And then and Tiffany Ariagas was the reigning Miss Dixie Land, so it was neat sharing the same title with Tiffany Ariagas. Then, like a year later, I moved to Orlando. I talked to a female impersonator friend of mine that I met here in Orlando, and her name was Wendy Gray. And Wendy, or Steve, introduced me to, I guess, I won't say his name, but he was in charge of the Empress Lily, the manager of the Empress Lily. If anyone knows Disney, they'll know his name. But he was very well known and very well liked. And she told me, go to the Empress Lily and ask for this person, and they'll help you get a job. And he did, and I worked at the Empress Lily until it closed. I put in a total of 25 years with Disney, and it was not all at the Empress Lily because it closed early, and I ended up transferring to other resorts. I worked at the Wilderness Lodge and doing their character breakfast at Artist Point. I then transferred, they discontinued their character breakfast, and I had to transfer over to the Grand Floridian, which was wonderful. And they did an Alice in Wonderland luncheon for the kids. And I helped with that, and still did the character breakfast. And in the meantime, I had auditioned, someone told me to audition out at Disney as a dancer, which of course I was all gung-ho for that. I've been taking dance classes when I came down to Florida. And I had a dance background already, and I got in as doing the Tencinio Parade, and I did that until it closed up. And then I auditioned for a convention show called World Showcase, I think it was called. And I did that until it closed up. Most of the convention shows only last a year, and then they put it away for a while, or it never comes back. This one was a large convention show, and it wasn't set up to move, but we performed it in Miami at the I can't remember the name of the hotel. It was Fond du Lac. I don't know the name. Anyway.
Fontainebleau?
Fontainebleau. Yeah, the Fontainebleau. Was that where the Miss Florida was?
Not this year. It had previously been there, but this year it was in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, okay. All right. It was Fontainebleau. And we had a blast, of course. Then I transferred to, did the Grand Floridian. Then after that, I transferred into the character shop at the Artist Point. And I worked on the character costume stuff. And then I found they had me tested or checked out for doing repairs on, if I could do the repairs on the costumes. And I do a little sewing in that. And turns out I was able to work on the heads that they have, neat snaps put on them and that, and Velcro and so forth. And I knew about Velcro. Anyway, I did that. And then after that, kind of things fell through for me because I had a breakdown, and very few people know about that, but I guess now everyone will know. But the AIDS epidemic was going on full blast, and it was not under control at that time. And I lost a lot of friends of mine, and I wasn't able to work at Disney anymore because they found me working on a costume, snapping it together, and crying. And my manager comes around and said that I can't work like that, and then I would have to go see a psychiatrist. So I saw a Disney psychiatrist and a regular psychiatrist. And they knew nothing about gay people, and they knew nothing about AIDS. And so I had to educate them on all that. And in the meantime, I wasn't getting any help for what I needed, just to get my head back together again. And so they, some way or another, I was able to find a gay psychiatrist, which you can't just ask for a gay psychiatrist. You just can't do that. And he was very helpful, and of course knew about everything that I needed, that I was going to be talking about. He could already relate to. So I was very thankful for him. And during all that, I had, I don't know when it actually started that I forgot about doing shows. I think it was when I did the Tencennial Parade that I, no, it wasn't. It goes back when I did the contest. When you did a contest, they would ask, if you won it, then they'd ask you to come back and perform again. And they asked me to come back to Cocoa Beach, where I had won a contest. I think it was called the Evening Edition. And the guy called me up, said, can you come back on so-and-so date, or whatever, and I said, and do what? Because for my talent, I sang live. And I was going like, on a Friday or Saturday night, they're not going to want to hear someone get up on stage and sing live, or at least I did that, I think, in that show that I did. And he said, no, but they want to see the gymnastics that he did. And I said, well, that's not a talent number for me right now, that's just, it was for sports, a category called sportswear. And so it only lasted a minute or 2 minutes on stage, but they liked the gymnastics, and no one was doing it in the bars. And so I tried to enhance that and put some music. Well, I had music that actually went with it, which was kind of unusual to do for your category, but I had music for it. And I made everything longer and last longer and do more things. And it went over well, and they asked me to come back again. And then that went cascaded on the thing that I did other contests, and then when I won them, they asked me to come back and do a show. And so after a while, I started, I was building up a show, and I found out that I couldn't do the singing live thing. A lot of the bars weren't set up with it. The microphones didn't have reverb, and you'd sound like you were singing out of a tin can, even if you had a good voice. And so I quit doing the singing live, except for contest. I would use it because I would sing. Everyone said, "Oh, he's not going to sing that again," and it would be Maria from West Side Story. And thing is, I thought I was Tony from West Side Story when I was doing it. I was such a kid back then, but I loved the song, and I could sing the heck out of the song, and it got me a lot of contests. I won a lot of contests with Maria from West Side Story, and but for my shows, I ended up switching over to doing lip sync. And I never thought I'd do it, but it is a talent. People say that lip syncing is not a talent, but there are some people that can do it very well, and there are some people that don't do it very well. And there's some people that spend a lot of time on it. Apple Love from Tampa years ago was known for her lip sync, that you could see her breathe every place where the artist in the song was breathing, and she would do everything, mimic the song perfectly. And I was okay, but I don't think I was that good at every breath. But also, what I would do, I would dance along with the songs. I would work up choreography with the songs. And I would also do what they call stand and pose songs also, where I'd do a country song or something, and I'd have black leather pants on, a 3/4 leather coat, and black cowboy hat, black bolo, and I'd be decked out. And I found out that I could do a slow song, and to take up time for my partner, who I would work with, a female impersonator, she would have time to do a costume change if I gave her 2 numbers, where if I only gave her 1 number, no one would have enough time to change out of one outfit into another one. So we always did a single and a back-to-back, each of us, and then the back-to-backs were always in the middle, so it allowed each of us to have time to do our costume change. And the cowboy outfit, I ended up making tearaway, and very few people would tear up a $100 pair of leather pants, but I'm also a thrifter, and I would go to the thrift stores, and during the summer you can buy leather for dirt cheap here in Florida because it's too hot to wear leather. People think they'll never wear their leather again. Well, I would buy $100 leather pants for $30, and then it cost me about another $25 or $30 to have them made tearaway. And so became the Ric Weber show, and it became that I would take a female impersonator with me, and I would have 5 partners or dance partners throughout the years, and I had a total of, I think it was 7 dance partners that I had, and they were Vanessa Tierra, Alan Allison, who I love dearly. She was from the Parliament House. She was the one who found one of my best songs that I did, and I can't think of any song. That's the name is Strokin', and it was a hit. If you heard the song before, it's a hit, and also it's the choreography and everything that it did during the song fit perfectly to the song, and I happen to have it. Here's our plug. on DVD. But I had someone do up a DVD of some of my shows that I did throughout the years. I was lucky enough that I had someone videotape a lot of my shows, and some of them are worthy of being videotaped, some are not. So I did not videotape, put them all on videotape, or put them all on a DVD. They're selected special. But I had Alan Allison was the one who gave me Strokin, and that was, I appreciate that till this day, you know. And then I'm trying to think. Oh, also to everyone's surprise, Tandy Andrews was a dance partner of mine for a short time, and this is when she was, I do believe she was 17 years old. And we were able to get her into the bars. No one asked when she was in drag. The ID would not prove anything because she could use any ID practically, and you know, she wouldn't look like it because she would be in drag. But anyway, what's funny is I thought she looked so good that I took her to the Empress Lily where I worked at Disney. And they, to my dismay, they were able to clock her as being a female impersonator. And I had worked with her so long that to me she was Tandy Andrews, and she was female. And to my surprise, I got corrected at that time. Years later, she would show them all off and become Cher. She went up to Chicago, I think it was, and had work done and became Cher. But she was wonderful to work with, and she and I were booked at a bar called Port-au-Prince, if anyone wants to try and check that up. They said, he didn't work with Tandy Andrews. Yes, I did. And we rehearsed Paradise by the Dashboard Light, which is one of my favorite duets to work with a female impersonator. But my mind goes. The next partner I had was Diane London, and we had worked over in St. Pete, and also we were asked to do a Dixie Awards over in West Palm Beach. And what was funny was my mom called and said, surprise, surprise, I'm coming to visit you. And I was going, like, when? And of course, it was the same date as the Dixie Awards in West Palm Beach. And I told my mom, I said, I'm going to be out of town. You can stay at the apartment, and then we'll be back in 2 days, or like in a day or whatever. And she said, why would I go into your apartment by myself when I came to see you? Can I come to West Palm Beach with you? And I said, yes, but I need to explain something. Because I've always had mentioned, and lesson learned from when I had Tandy Andrews go to the Empress Lily, that Diane London was my dance partner, and Diane London was a boy and not a girl. At least off stage. On stage, she's girl. But anyway, my mom came along with us. We had that horrible drive, and they were just talking like two kids, you know. She was talking about her makeup. Diane was talking about her makeup and what she did to her hair and so forth. And my mom was going, really? And all this other stuff. And just girl talk. And I was just amazed. I was so happy that they got along. And to this day, I appreciate that you were very nice to my mom. And it was the only time that my mom was able to see me perform. And it was a Dixie Awards, so they had, the guy that was in charge of it had decided to give me one of the Dixie Awards, which was Best Butt. I was out in the car taking our costumes back and putting them in the car where they'd be safe. And while I was out in the car, they announced the award, and I don't know whether it's Diane London or not, I wouldn't be amazed if it wasn't, But they said, well, his mom's here. And my mom went and accepted the Best Bud Award for me at the Dixie Awards in West Palm Beach. And she wasn't really sure. She was in her 70s, so she wasn't sure what she was accepting. She knew it was an award for me, but she didn't know exactly what award it was, which was probably good, I guess. But she learned a lot about me that she didn't know that much about my gay life, and she learned a lot in a short period of time. But she got to see me perform, and what was nice was it was a very good number, and it brought the house down. And the bar owner came up to me afterwards and said, "You put on a good show." He said, "I've had male entertainers come in here, and what gets me upset is they have, back then and pretty much still, is they just have male strippers, and they don't lip sync, they don't do a performance, they just dance around, shake their you know what," which there's nothing wrong with that. But there's still a place for male entertainers, and like at this time, I'd like to mention Peter Fernandez, who I had worked with, competing against in contest. I beat him out once, and he beat me out once. So doing his Prince, which was phenomenal. But Peter was a sweet guy, and he's passed. But back to my dance partners, the top two were Chanel Solitaire, who is one of my best friends, and she passed away from bone cancer. And we would go out shopping together, we would go out and have lunch together. She would cook Thanksgiving dinner for me. It was always a Cornish hen, because that's what I liked. And she was, I don't know, a lot of people probably didn't know that she was a 5-star chef. And I miss her deeply. And then my last dance partner was Tori Holden. And we quit working together because she ended up moving to Lauderdale, which was a good move for her. She was doing very well. We did very well as in our show that we did, Ric Weber and Tori Holden, Ric Weber and Chanel Solitaire, that thing. And but she wanted to do some other things, and that was fine. And then when Chanel and Tori and I were working together, we would invite like another entertainer just as a to help a beginner out. And two of the beginners that I can remember, one was Chantel, and the other was Robin Knight. Robin Knight, I won't tell her tea, but I helped her. She's a big girl, and she wouldn't wear any boobs, and she wouldn't wear any nails. And I said, "Girl," I said, "if you're going to do," and she later wanted to do the contest, and she was really good at it because her talent number was phenomenal. She could bring the house down. And she wanted to hot glue something on one of her dresses, some beads or some jewels. And so I loaned her my hot glue gun, and I had a frying pan that I would set it in because that little sucker gets hot, and you have to set it somewhere. You can't set it on the dining room table, you can't set it on the carpet or anything like that. It'll burn a hole in it. So I got a small frying pan and did that. She told me later, she said, "You know that frying pan that you gave me?" I said, "What?" She said, "It cooks up some good fried chicken." And I was going like, no, she didn't. And I don't think I ever got the frying pan back from her. But she was funny. She was always funny. And both Chanel and I enjoyed having her go on the road with us. And She was very talented. But I miss her too. She passed. All right. One other thing I'd like to go through is some of the contests that I entered. Usually the contest, if I entered a contest, I either won it or I got first runner-up. And I'm being kind of bold about saying that, but it was true. There were only, I think out of all the contests I did, there were 4 that I didn't get winner or first runner-up. And I did a lot of contests. There was a contest in Florida. I was there. The first contest was Mr. Dixie Land in 1978. Then in 78, 79 was Mr. Parliament House. And then Mr. Goya was in 78, 79 also. No, I don't know, 77, 78. Then there was Mr. RJ's that I got first runner-up, but I did get Body Beautiful, which I'd never gotten before. So I was kind of happy about that one. There was Mr. Tampa in 1978. I got first runner-up there. Mr. Gay Orlando, I won. That was 1980. That's after I had entered it the year before, and I think I got first runner-up. I don't have the medal on it, but the first year I entered it, I got first runner-up, and I was upset, so I went back the next year and I won it. Mr. Jacksonville, in 1980, I got first runner-up and won talent number. The guy that won Mr. Jacksonville was Rick Camp from Montgomery, Alabama, who was a good friend of mine, and I won Mr. Gay, Alabama at his bar. He had invited me up to do his contest. And I was sad to hear that he had passed away, because he was a very, very nice man. Then I also entered Mr. Central Florida in Gainesville, and I also entered Mr. Gainesville. I think it was Mr. Gainesville or Mr. Melody Club, I'm not sure which, but they were both held at the Melody Club, and I won both their titles. At that point, the manager of the Melody Club was Bob Lynn, and that's where Darcel Stevens came from, Gainesville, and she had performed at the Melody Club. And I'd like to thank Bob Lynn for being such a good friend, and also always booking me at the Melody Club. He's always, whenever I call and ask for a booking, he said sure. And he has passed away recently, and it was sad to hear. And then I had worked at Cocoa Beach, the Evening Edition, and I think I had one, Mr. Gay America. First time I entered it was just right after I started doing contests, and I got fourth runner-up. And so I was going like, well, that's not good. And so then it took me like, I think it was like 4 or 5 years later, I entered Mr. Gay America again, and it was held in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was a tough competition, and I got first runner-up. And people asked me, well, why didn't you go back next year and win it? I said, it doesn't work that way. Just because you got first runner-up one year doesn't mean you move up a notch and win the next year. I had done my best that year. I knew that was my best. And there was one guy there that was taller than me, and he could play the piano, and he was very good looking. And I wasn't going to beat him, and I didn't. So, but it was a good competition. That's what I write it off as, and I had a blast doing it. So the other thing is, I just wanted to say thank yous to there it is. Yeah, mainly Roy's Green Parrot used to book me at the third weekend of every month, and these are kind of late on saying thank yous. I'm not sure whether Roy is still with us. Last I heard he was. But I'd like to thank Roy for booking me in at the Green Parrot all these years and being so nice to us. And then at Bo's Coral Reef in Jacksonville Beach. Bo, if anyone met Bo, you'd know she was a hilarious person to meet. She kept a shotgun behind the bar just in case she'd have any trouble. And you wouldn't want to mess with Bo. She'd use the shotgun. But we were there the first Saturday of each month, and there are a lot of people that remember our show, you know, that we were there always on the first Saturday of each month. And then Bob Lynn, like I said, at the Melody Club, always booked me in, and I appreciated that. And then Rick Camp from, I forget the name of his bar, but in Montgomery, Alabama. He was a good friend. And I'd also like to thank at this time Jarcell Stevens, who we might not have always gotten along on everything, but she would, you know, when I'd come to see her show and that, she would every once in a while mention my name and mention, you know, Ric Weber. So as Mr. Orlando or Mr. Parliament House or something when there's a contest coming up. And so I appreciate that she did that. So that was nice that she did that. And I think that's pretty well my story.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say, maybe to the young LGBTQ people for the future?
Just if you want to do something, go for it. Learn as much as you can, and be prepared. That's what I've done all my life, tried to do. And there's always, if you need help, there's someone there. There's always some people that will help you with whatever you need help with. If you're wanting to do something or become something, if you want to end up doing drag, if you want to do whatever you want to do it. You know, practice it, become good at it, and then work at your, I'm trying to think of the word I want to use, but work at what you want to get done, and work at it, and get good at it.
Thank you. On behalf of the LGBTQ History Museum Central Florida for doing this interview with us.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.